Hello, is this RC Bandito here with a new video. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing and making a guide off of the newly released RC Bandito as part of the recent Arena Wars DLC. To start off, it costs a whopping $1,590,000. And as for the customizations for this kind of vehicle, they're actually pretty good. However, in general, the customizations are decent/okay. So we have a bunch of lids to start off, having like 21 options. One is stock, there's off-road ones, which by the way, for those two, I don't know what vehicles they're based off of, but most of them are based off of vehicles that were previously in the game, such as the one that I have, being the trophy truck, being based off of a vehicle from the Cunning Stunts update. Then there's one called Big Brat, I believe, which is either a Sand King or a, like, Rebel or whatever. And then there's also the Midnight, whatever it was called. That is based off of the Slam Van in terms of the chassis. There's also the ability to have bombs on the vehicle, which basically lets you hold L1 to detonate, similar to the previously released drone from the Terabyte in the After Hours DLC. Also similar to the drones used in the Arena Wars DLC as well. There's also the ability to get mines on the vehicle. However, you only have the ability to get the kinetic and EMP mines. I actually forgot about that in my cons list, so that's an additional con that I came up with. There's also the ability to have a jump on the vehicle. Comes stock with a jump, but it's not too good of a jump. However, the upgrade jumps are not much better, but the options are there. And I think I pretty much summarized most, if not all, of the big customization options. I might have forgot one or whatever. It took me a decent bit in order to mention all of the different customizations, since I had to do the introduction, and then the clips on this video are not too huge. So regardless, to end off, I want to talk about my pros and cons list, as well as give a number for the vehicle as well out of 10. So to start off with pros, I have 20 of them. So the first pro I put is that the mod shop comes with an arena workshop. So you do not have to pay separately for being able to customize this vehicle. It just comes with one of the existing upgrades from day one of the Arena War DLC. If they really wanted to, they could have made us pay for like a mod shop as part of the drip feed to like get the tools and whatnot to customize it. Technically they could have, but they didn't. It just comes with part of the workshop from day one. For pro number 2, I put as the lid variety, which I mentioned earlier. It has like a Rebel and Sand King like option, has a trophy truck, which ironically the trophy truck one for this is more stable than the actual trophy truck, where like all the parts come off if you hit a very small object of like any sort, really. It also has a Slam Van like option, has an off-road like option, and then the stock one, which the last two I mentioned, I don't know what they're based off of, but the other two could also be based off of vehicles that were already in the game before the RC Bandito's release. And then I also put decals in the livery stack as well, meaning the livery you put on the paint no matter what like lid you have, the liveries will all be the same. The decals are what is different with the vehicles. So for example, on the Gang Burrito, which I might have forgot to mention earlier actually, that has some sort of decal on it with like a taco or something. That taco or whatever will stay on the vehicle regardless of the livery you choose, as far as I am aware. For the 4th Pro I have is that it's a great suicide bomber, and of course that is if you have the remote explosives upgrade. It's definitely a really great vehicle considering the like explosive resistance and whatnot. So if someone tries to make you explode yourself without killing them, you can easily get a pretty satisfying kill with the suicide bomb feature of the vehicle. Also, for the 5th Pro I have, it has proximity mines, kinetic, and EMP, which as I mentioned earlier, I forgot to put con on my list, since I didn't really think too much about it, but doesn't have the spike and the slick EMPs, but I definitely don't really, which I'm not really too fond of. I really wish they would have included them, regardless of them not being as useful, in my opinion, just so we could have more options at least. The 6th Pro that I have is that the upgrades are not affected by sponsorship, meaning you do not have to play Arena War modes in order to get upgrades for like a trade price. So it definitely incentivizes to instantly get the upgrades if you can, as compared to other vehicles where you might be more incentivized to play some of the modes to unlock the trade price before you get certain upgrades for the vehicle. And then I also put for Pro number 7 that it is an amazing trolling vehicle, being really great against tryhards. One reason being, of course, is the great bullet and explosive resistance, and also the fact that you're off the radar and whatnot. So if you see a tryhard, definitely consider using the RC Bandito. So that's hard for them to brag about a 1.0 and whatnot. For the next Pro I have, I put can respray the drivers. I put down there because there's 4 respray options: primary, secondary, and then an option for like the helmet and then the suit for the driver, which have more specific names of course, but that's a general gist of the 2 extra respray options. For the next Pro I put it has a vertical jump, which doesn't really do much for it, except for allowing it to climb smaller rooftops, sort of. So it's not too beneficial, but it has the feature, so I felt it was worth putting on there. Speaking of a small feature that I think was noteworthy enough for a Pro, is that it comes with bulletproof tires, technically. There's no option for it in the shop, therefore technically it does, because I don't recall my tires ever popping or anything. And then another Pro I put, which kind of can be a controversial one, but I also have this part of this as a con as well, is that it has dedicated races, which makes it one of the few to several vehicles with a dedicated race series. So that's something good about it, but I'll get into later why it's not so good as well for the con side of things. Next Pro I have is that it is instantly spawned via the interaction menu. So whenever you want, as long as there's no cooldown, you'll be able to just transform into the RC Bandito pretty much. And then I also put has a 1 minute cooldown, which is half of typical vehicles, or it's a fifth of the cooldown for personal aircrafts, because as of this update they made the typical cooldown 2 minutes instead of 5, which the typical cooldown used to be tied with the personal aircrafts, but now it's only for personal aircrafts, so you have to wait 5 minutes. Next pro I have is it makes you disappear, so you cannot be killed while using this vehicle. Only your RC Bandito can pretty much be destroyed. And then I also put is infinitely off radar. Of course, meaning once you're on this, once you're in the RC Bandito, you're basically incognito until you get out of it. Unless someone notices you're like spawning and like waits for you to get out of your RC Bandito and then kills you like right away. That's pretty much the only thing someone can really do with it. So it's similar to the Akula, where you can essentially be off radar infinitely. However, it's not something to toggle on. Just being an RC Bandito in general makes it where you can indeed be off the radar. Next pro I have is it finally brings an efficient counter to the orbital cannon. Reason I put it finally brings an efficient counter is because there is a couple to a few different counters that were technically available, where the orbital cannon, such as the fully loaded Ruiner 2000, and then all of the like different vehicles where you can like modify other vehicles inside of them, like the Mobile Operations Center, Avenger, and the Terabyte. Those three, along with the fully loaded Ruiner, were basically the only counters I can think of, for the most part, for the orbital cannon. But now with the RC Bandito, since you transform into it, when you get hit with the orbital cannon, it's not going to be anything like super annoying, since for the most part, you can kind of get away with just using this just to be an orbital cannon counter if you want it to be, since it's not as essential as a vehicle like the Terabyte or the Avenger. So that's why I think it's a very efficient counter, because it's easily accessible and you don't have to go anywhere in order to get this activated. You just straight up get it from the interaction menu. Also, I put has great bullet and explosive resistance for the next pro. Literally, it can survive 2 RPGs and blows up on the 3rd one. I heard it's the same with homing missiles, which I wasn't able to test it on, but still. And then for the next pro, I put it has no range restrictions, meaning you can literally go anywhere on the map, and you'll still be able to be returned to your normal location once you stop using the vehicle or you're forced to. For the second to last pro I put can be a slight alternative, the passive mode. Because of course passive mode basically makes it where you can't be killed. And this is essentially the same thing unless you're caught, which is going to be really hard to do unless you're straight up going after someone on like foot. Because even if someone's in a vehicle, it might be kind of hard for them to tell you're even chasing after them, unless you've really made it obvious before, or if they're like very specifically looking for you. And then for the last pro, I put cannot be locked onto. Now I think this is mostly true, but I think there are like rare exceptions to it. I recall being able to lock onto it, and I think I heard in the comment section of the Professionals video, shout out to him by the way, I'll talk about him a little more in this video, but I think with the Oppressor Mark II, for whatever reason, there's an exception and you can lock on with that with the RC Bandito. However, on the Professionals video, you tried locking onto it with the homing launcher and he was unsuccessful with that. But finally, onto the cons. It requires an arena workshop, so there is a paywall to it. However, it's only like $1 million. It's not even $1 million for a paywall, so it's a pretty cheap paywall. Much more accessible than like a bunker and then a mobile operations center. On top of that, etc. Con number 2 I have is that it is expensive for what you get. Like, the main purpose of that is that I heard something being discussed that of course it's more expensive than a Bugatti, which is just ridiculous for an RC vehicle. However, I can kind of understand it, to be fair, for why it is. And then, also, for the third con I put, it lacks a desert raid lid. Now, this can be a pretty subjective con, which I'm not going to have it affect the review score I give at all. I just think since they have the trophy truck, I personally think they should have had a desert raid lid as well, since I like the look of it better. Also, for a con I put as free mines, I think it's pretty good for a way to counteract and balance the vehicle. At the same time, I would have rather they would like have a time restriction, or similar to import-export vehicles, you would have to go back to the arena workshop to refill the vehicle or something. I would have been fine with that, but the straight up only have free mines, I think that's a pretty big con. Liveries are the same between lids is my next con. Definitely think they could have been much more creative with the liveries between the different lids, of course. I get it, you have to like switch between it, so it could cause issues. Like, of course, it's gonna maybe have to switch you to one you don't want if you change your lid. But you're already changing the model, so I don't think it would have been much harder. There's a lack of incentives to buy for racing the vehicle. The only real difference when you do the RC Bandito races is the jump, as you're seeing in the gameplay right now. In a 25 lap race on this specific one, that reminded me of criminal records way back in day 1 of Grand Theft Auto Online. And then, next con I have is can only easily kill one player per RC, even if you use all the kinetic mines. And then you still have to explode pretty much. You pretty much have to detonate it in order to even kill them still, even after using all the kinetic mines. So because of that, I don't think it's really efficient at killing. It's mainly more useful at exploding people. Definitely. And it's really hard to run people over too. It has weird mission related restrictions, which the professional was able to do a headhunter, but personally I don't think he made it too specific how he pulled that off. So it's pretty hard to use this in mission related aspects. It's also terrible at jumping rooftops, because the maximum jump is not so good. For the last con I have, if I've already mentioned that it is terrible at jumping rooftops, I put it cannot use custom versions in the arena, because it would have been nice to be able to use the EMP proximity mines instead of the kinetic ones with the use of a custom specific RC Bandito, but you cannot use them in any way, shape, or form in the arena. Would have also been nice to have a dedicated mode with them, but honestly, it kind of there would kind of be a lack of creativity that they could potentially have with an RC Bandito exclusive mode. So Game Masters might already be a pretty good mode for the RC Bandito anyways. But as Bruffy 1322 has not already done performance of this, I'll just say it also performs really bad as well, logically so. And don't forget the extra con I put is that it lacks like half of the new proximity mine options from the Arena Wars DLC, which I don't understand why. But that's kind of a subjective con as well. But yeah, when Bruffy does his performance, make sure to check him out to see where his place is in lap time and top speed. And also shout out to the professional. His review also really helped me build upon on my review along with what I added. But regardless of that, I give the RC Bandito a 7.25 out of 10. This time I actually remembered to give it a numbered review, so instead of seeing it on the screen, you'll be hearing it based on my audio. Similar to the very first review, aka the buzzard review that I did. I'm pretty sure I remembered with the audio on that one. But that's going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed.